Have you ever wondered what it is about reaching for our dreams that feels so hard and requires so much of our own healing? Are you curious about how moving towards your own creativity might heal what's making you feel stuck? Well, that is why we made this show. I'll be having conversations with emotional health experts as well as artists, musicians, and creatives, all with the intention of resourcing and inspiring you to uncover your true creative self. I'm Courtney Lancaster, and this is the Heal Create Podcast. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Heal Create Podcast. I'm so happy you're here, as usual. And today I have a very special guest for so many reasons. I could spend the hour talking about how much my family loves this person and why. But today I'm going to try and limit the conversation around his exceptional talent as a music creator. So, without ado, I'd like to introduce you to my very good friend, Ben Potter.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello
I'm
from
so
Australia.
Glad you're here. Yeah, he's Australian. If you couldn't
Yes.
tell, I'll just say, well, we met in ministry school a few years ago, where a few of my guests have been from that time in my life. Ben and I instantly connected. He became a part of our family almost immediately, and we really connected over music. And he has created, since that time, that was 5.5 years ago, he's created a lot.
Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. No, I really can't. But you've created so much music. So I'm so excited just to talk to you as an artist.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited to chat with you. And you know what? Every time we chat / anytime I chat with an American person, you pick up on a little bit of the American twang. So I remember doing this video once for some music thing, and I introduced myself and I said, because I was chatting with Americans all day,
Yeah.
"Hi, I'm Ben Potter." And everyone in Australia was like, "That's so fake. Stop it. Stop that." So if you hear a twang come through, I'm sure someone will be like, "That is a fake American accent coming from Ben."
That's funny. It doesn't sound like a twang to us at all. It just sounds normal. So I think only other Australians will judge you for it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Yes.
we're good at that.
Well, anyways, we're happy you're here. I want to talk to you about so many things, Australian or not. I'm happy you're here. I want to talk to you about a few different things. First of all, you have an album out, and that's what I'd like to start with. It recently came out, and it's called I Am Healing.
I'm healing.
Yeah, which I said thank you so much for creating music that's about healing, because I conveniently have a podcast all about healing and creating. So I appreciate
And
you
this
doing
lends
that for me.
itself so well.
Yeah, it really does. So I want to get into that. I guess actually maybe before we do, can you tell us a little bit about like your background in music and how you like kind of found your way into making music?
Yeah, for sure. Well, mum and dad bought me a piano one day when I was like 7 or 8 or something. And that's when it kind of started. I think I expressed interest in that. But between then and maybe like 10 or 15 years later, I was just a piano dude. So I just played some piano. Eventually picked up the guitar thinking that it might be cool to learn something different, and was interested in maybe trying to find a girlfriend at that point, and felt like guitar was more cool than piano.
Yeah,
for sure. Like Jack Johnson or Mozart. Tell me who's more attractive. You can work that out. So
I think about that comparison all the time.
Yeah, it's a common one.
Close.
Well, yeah, but the songwriting thing didn't happen for ages. Like, honestly, didn't have any inclination towards it, and thought to myself, like, I could probably give it a go, but if it's not going to be good, then I don't want to do it. And anyway, long story short, there was a team from the church that we actually went to school at that came out to Australia once, and some woman, can't remember her name, but she was like, "Hey, I feel like I'm supposed to tell you that there's a songwriting thing in you, and you should give that a go, basically, and you're going to write some songs." And she has some encouraging things to say about it. And honestly, it's like that just like opened a door in my life that it's like I needed someone to say, "You should songwrite here, songwrite." and I started songwriting. And I think after that moment, I had an album out maybe like 2 years after that moment, something like that. And so that was kind of like a big celebratory thing. And even that one was written out of like a really long breakup sort of thing. So that every piece of music that I think I've put out in the form of a record has typically been associated with a level of healing or trying to find myself again, or like that sort of tone, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I think, well, going back to something you said about how somebody pointed it out in you, and it's such an important and notable part of the creative process is understanding like, oh, I think I have something here that I want to create and I want to do. But then also when someone else sees it and points it out in you and confirms that in you, it's such a powerful catalyst for a lot of people moving towards that dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And it
I
sounds
agree.
like that was good for you.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree with you. And like music, like I'm probably sure like all art feels super vulnerable. So even the fact that you have someone seeing something and saying like, look, I can see this in you, whether it's a spiritual impression or I'm your friend and I can see this in you because I've been journeying with you or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that stuff's vital. Like I feel like I kind of live off encouragement in some ways, whether it's self or others, like it's like life. So I don't think I would have started anything, to be honest with you, if I didn't have that moment, at least in the songwriting space.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe just as for anyone listening, as much as important as it is, well, the most important to pay attention to what dreams are kind of blooming in you, but also like keeping an eye on the people around you, maybe even younger people, and pointing out what you see in them can be such a powerful, just powerful catalyst.
Yeah.
So that you're talking about, so the first album you did, you're talking about Reside, is that right? Is that the
Yes.
one?
I feel so honored that you know that off the top of your head as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I think because we listened to it so much when we met you, and you had just released it when we met you.
Also, I think when I met you, I was in more of like a more, I'd done a level of healing from that breakup, and that album had been out for a while. So I was in kind of like a perky place, and I just like moved to America. So I was like, I took my 50 leftover CDs that I didn't sell at my local church with me to the States and like forced them upon people. And I think you guys were some of that forcing. And so I think, yeah, even if you chose to listen to it, it might have even come from me literally putting it into your CD player and being like, this is what we're going to listen to now.
Yeah, it is true. At my house, you would, like the first time you ever came over, you said, Alexa, play Ben Potter. But, you know, it's something that artists don't do enough is promote their art. And it's so, so sad. If you ever follow Inspired to Write on Instagram, she speaks directly to this all the time, that anyone that's offering something of value, any services, needs to put it out there, needs to offer it. And I feel like for whatever reason, your personality or your confidence enabled you, like, I know it was kind of a joke. You're like giving everybody your CD and like listening to me, but like, it also wasn't a joke. It was like, this is actually really good and I worked really hard on it and you should listen to it.
Yeah, it actually, you're right. It was both. It was partially ha 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 ha, it's me, and then also like, but also it's me.
Like, yeah, totally. Listen to this. Listen. But please, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. And why do you think that you were able to do that, to kind of offer your music to so many? I mean, you were like so, and you always have been really good at kind of marketing what you do and offering it without shyness. What do you think?
I've actually thought about this. Yeah, I've thought about this a little bit, like before, because I'm like, I don't know that I see heaps of people like I meet artists that are like just so private. And if you discover them, you know, maybe online or something, then that's beautiful. But like even having a conversation around it, it's like it's too tender to talk about maybe. But I just don't feel like that. I'm like, yeah, I want to talk about everything. Let's go. And I feel like a part of it might be kudos to my parents for healthy parenting, because my mum's super like that. Like, she's creative in her own way, and she's relatively good at, I would say, putting herself out there a bit. So I think there's an element of that. And I would say also my parents were pretty good at being like, this is Ben, Ben's amazing, which I think that's like just great parenting. But maybe another point of it might be is I just don't feel like the singer-songwriter thing for me is everything. And so I don't feel like my full exploration of my identity is in that. I literally don't. It came out of nowhere. So for me, it's been like I put a lot of energy and focus into it, but at the same time, I work full time in design, and I've got a career that I'm kind of working on, and I studied theology and maybe want to do pastoral work one day. Or there's just like a few things that I would say put my energy into. So if someone came over and was like, this is the stupidest music, that would hurt my heart, but it wouldn't destroy my creative process, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Which, it's not who you are, it's what you make. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which is a really healthy relationship to have with your music, to where criticism or praise won't make or break you. It will be, because you know who you are outside of that.
Yeah. And it for sure affects the heart. Like, you know, it hurts when someone, you know, says that they don't like the way that you sound or something. And it also like makes you feel amazing when you're encouraged. But I wouldn't say that like if I got like a 0-star Google review with some aggressive notes in it about how my music caused them to have a really bad reaction or something, that would
an allergic reaction.
Yeah, that's right. His music gave me hives. I think that I feel like I'm like, that would hurt, but I would still keep on doing it. Like, it just for me it's not my whole world. I think if you manage to find all the things that I'm creating, and an answer to the question is like, there's so many outputs for me. Like, most of my time's literally making graphics full time. So the music's the fun stuff on the side.
Yeah, I think that that's actually true for a lot of artists, that they have a day job and they fund their passion of music, because for the independent artist, there's not in the beginning a lot of ways to immediately make money off of doing music. I will say, because I know you and I know your story, that you actually, for an independent artist, are pretty successful comparatively to a lot of... I mean, I feel like that's factual. That doesn't feel like a compliment.
No, I was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just knowing like your streams and the Spotify, well, there's just a lot that I could measure, and that I think you've shared with us, that you compared to a lot of people that are staying in that independent artist field have seen like a good amount of like stable success and engagement from a fan base.
Yeah, and at the moment I'm stunned. Like, I logged on this morning and was just like, just curious about how, I guess, the new record is being received. And I've got more monthly listeners than I've ever had, and I was just ordering a coffee at the cafe and was like, wow, this is like, if 3 years ago me saw this today, like, that would be, I don't know if he'd even understand, or be like, he'd be shocked. Like, it's quite a humbling thing when you have a lot of people that celebrate you and listen to you. And today's the day. It's interesting because today's it's at its highest peak it's been ever, actually.
Yeah. What do you make of that? What do you attribute that to? I mean, personally, what do you think got you there?
Yeah, I don't know. Because part of me is like, obviously there's something that is a shared connection point in some of these songs where people are like, yeah, that reigns true in me, and I want to treasure that or listen to that. But in all honesty, I don't fully know if I have a solid answer for that, even in as far as like that first album, Reside, when I put that one out, that no one listened to that one, because when you're starting out, it's just like how do you tell lots of people like, I've got music out, you should go listen to my music.
Right.
So no one listened to that one for ages. Like even now, it's probably one of the least played things if you wanted to look at like from a statistical perspective. However, out of nowhere, like one of those songs is the currently most played song out of everything. And the song's called Reside. It's just literally a piano track. That's all it is. It's me playing some piano. And for whatever reason, that's gotten picked up and is just getting played and played more than any other song at this point in time. So I feel like I have not a great deal of understanding about how that stuff works. But in saying that, like, when I get like a message or something or an email or like an Instagram message or a comment or something, it sounds like people who go through similar experiences, like whether it be like they're getting married or they are breaking up with someone and experiencing that heartache that's just so strong, or they are working through something that's quite traumatic. It's like popped up and they're like, okay, I have to walk through this now. It's coming up very strongly. That for whatever reason, that there's some songs in this catalog that really stick with people. And I get some very, very, very kind messages that are very humbling. Kind would be an example. Oh my gosh, Kind. That's a song that we wrote together, actually.
Yes. You and me and Noah sat around the piano at my old house in Reading. And then we like kind of created like I think just maybe like the chorus and the bridge or something. And we were so pumped on it.
We were so cheesed on it. It was like, it was, and then we were like, we pulled our worship team aside and we were like, hey, we're going to,
we made our band.
I know this is your day off. And you're at our house to practice music, but we're going to do this right now. And we made them all sing it and sing with us for a bit. So we could trial it out a bit, actually.
Yeah. Kind is the one that you get a lot of the messages about, or one of the ones that you get a lot of messages about.
Yeah. Kind's the one.
Well, and I think that it doesn't surprise me that you get a lot of messages, because your music from the very first album that you ever put out has always had healing like themes in it. Connection to self, connection to God, connection to others. And those themes have been so prevalent in your music. That's well, besides the fact that we love you, that's what I love about your music as well, is I've never heard somebody that is quite as, it sounds like, as devoted to the topic of healing and overcoming in a really gentle way that comes through in your music. Yeah. And why do you think that your songs and your music have turned out that way? Did you set out to be about that, or what?
I've thought about that a little bit before, and I think there's so much music out there. There's a lot of Christian music out there that can get you in a great mood, or that you can like rock out to. Can you tell that I don't rock out purely based on how I said that you can rock out to?
I think my dad says that.
Yeah, that's right.
He rocks out.
Me and your dad.
Music.
Yeah, we both do. We go for drives in Palm Springs. It's great. But I think that when I was trying to at least put words to what I was experiencing, say the healing journey, that's probably been the biggest space of writing. And so whether that's, at first it was that heartbreak journey, but then outside of that, and as life progressed on, it was healing in different ways. And a lot of it was like that becoming, like the realizing who I am, or the healing of like you're revisiting parenting that was really hard, or you're revisiting just life events that you never realized stuck with you for so long, and you formed behaviors and mindsets out of that inform your everyday. So much of the songwriting for me is literally like processing that in that like alone space, in that prayerful space, is kind of when I feel like I can isolate myself and kind of open myself up spiritually. That's where a lot of stuff just naturally comes out, is how I would describe it. And sometimes I just feel like songs just show up. and whether that's like I don't know how to fully explain that, but they just feel like they arrive, and you've got that core message, and one of them is called "You Slow Me Down," which is off this new record, "I'm Healing," and that was literally like one of the things that I'm working on healing at the moment, or I wouldn't even say working on healing. I'd say like one of the things I'm experiencing myself finding healing in naturally at the moment is this awareness of like, I felt like the last year and a half I've been afraid of time running out, which is a weird thing I've never experienced that in as strong as I've been feeling it. And I think part of it might be that there's, when you have beautiful things, they're not going to last long. And this song, "You Slow Me Down," came out of like this I was having a swim at my local beach, and I felt like I had this spiritual moment, and I kind of like really, my body felt really regulated, and I started crying, and this emotion started coming up, and where I felt like I was releasing this, or at least being honest with this, this struggle of like, I just feel like this is so beautiful, and I was just admiring like my life. Sarah and I moved back to Australia. We moved back together, and we felt like that was the thing to do. And lo and behold, we land in like one of the most beautiful parts of our country. And here I am sitting at this beach, and I'm just getting hit with this thing of like, I don't have to carry this, it's going to end soon moment. Or it's going to end soon mentality. And I felt this lyric of "You Slow Me Down." And I felt like that was something that spoke really true to that part of me that is experiencing healing at the moment in the fear of time running out. And we connected about that song too. And I think that from memory, you wrote the bridge on that song, which is, "We're not out of time. We're not late to arrive. You restore every minute, every hour." And that is just like the antithesis of that healing moment for me, is like, we're not out of time. We're not late to arrive. And that's really stuck with me. Even for Christmas or my birthday this year, rather, Sarah bought me a watch, and on the back of it, she got engraved, "May time feel slow." And it just feels like that's like a theme at the moment where just songs have come out of that space. So
from a Christian perspective, it is problematic, because to be told the theme your whole life, like, you know, this life is short, anytime, whatever, Jesus is going to come, or like a thief in the night, he's going to come. That's like a very prevalent evangelical Christian message specifically. And so it sets in your programming, in your nervous system, that like life is short. You got to just do all the things you need to do as quickly as possible. And for Christians, it's whatever. You have to save as many people as before Jesus comes. I don't know. It's like this, like you got to just go. And I remember kind of deconstructing that, dismantling that in my own healing process, and just really questioning that message and finding that, you know, well, if Jesus came to bring healing, if Jesus came to bring heaven to earth, and heaven there is no time in heaven, if you believe in heaven, or, you know, if you ascribe to that, then wouldn't the feeling of heaven on earth be a feeling of timelessness? Like, even in the Bible, it says he wrote eternity on our hearts. And I realized in the trauma science, that's actually a sign of a regulated nervous system, is feeling like I have lots of time.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, and I remember when I was going through my healing process, trying to explain to my therapist, I kept experiencing like really big moments of like beauty and calm and ventral openings, they were called, after being in such depression and heaviness for so long, and just having these like expansive moments. And I was trying to explain to her, like, you know, I think I've had these feelings like maybe things don't end. Maybe like things just keep going on, and I don't know how to explain it, but I just keep having this feeling that like it's almost like death isn't real or something. And I know, of course, you know, obviously, of course it is, but like just this good feeling of like, we can trust even death, it's okay to be here. And like, even if, when inevitably things end, like, I think they like keep going. And that's probably the eternity on our hearts thing. And I remember her looking at me like, yeah,
like,
yeah,
you get
that's it. Yeah, you're getting it. And like, I still can't even really explain it. I think it's just a safety, obviously a deep safety in my body, and connecting to God, who's not in a hurry, who's not trying to like rush us along. Yeah. Just like you wouldn't listen to, you don't dance to get to the end of the dance. You don't listen to music to like get to the end of the song. You like experience it. That's what life gets to be as well. So
I love that.
Yeah. Your song is so, I think we did talk about that song ahead of time. And so many of your songs have that kind of felt sense of like it's okay. We're here. Like almost like the calm after the storm. Like, like we're okay. If you guys haven't listened to Ben's music, I highly recommend it. I mean, clearly we love it. I just feel like for me, it puts me in immediate contact with like the calm inside of me. Like everything's okay. And that's really, really powerful, Ben. It's not easy to do.
Honestly, I love that. And I don't feel like I even have all the answers or all the theology to explain all that stuff. But I just know who does. But what you just said, like that ventral experience of like time opening up is, I remember the first time I experienced that, it was like, that's a treasure and that's worth changing things for.
Yeah.
Instead
absolutely.
of like this persistent undertone of franticness that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love what you're talking about. That to me is like probably I'd say a big focus in my life at the moment.
I wonder for you too, since we're talking about the nervous system and this, podcast is about creativity. Do you create your music in more of a ventral state?
Oh, I'd say that's where the good stuff is. Like, okay, so ventral state, that could be like a combination of like that, what we just talked about, like that open time, but it could also be like super fun. Like I'm just vibing. Yeah.
Play.
So I reckon so. I reckon that like there's just anyone who truly knows me knows that my true self is like, I just want to laugh, really. If you can help me laugh, or I just find you funny, or we do funny things, like that's where it's at. And that space sometimes is the best co-writing space. Like, I feel like I can get there with some people. Like I've had an experience where I had a really great co-writing session with Gable. That's like a good example of that, maybe.
Gable Price.
Gable Price.
If you don't know who that is, listeners, Gable Price and Friends on Spotify, check him out.
Yeah, but that ventral space, I think, is like where the treasure is. And like there's definitely like some songs that started in like, okay, well, let's just like talk about Kind then. Like Kind started probably out of pain because it was, the song's context is about how he's kind and he's not afraid of our process, and he's there with us in the middle of our even like dysfunction in life. Like,
we were tired of the narrative of God being like angry, punitive God.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
you need to change today. And so, yeah, I would say like the songwriting process in and of itself is, for me, I don't know what to call it, but it like helps me come into ventral. It's regulating, probably is what I'm trying to say. Like, I feel like when I'm creating it, I'm like, there's something juicy here. Like this has got that golden thread on it or whatever. I feel like that it's just so regulating, and I'm like a happy person. And even if it's about something that's contextually heavy, like it's a very ventral experience. So I wouldn't say I have put anything out really that I know for sure was written out of like a triggered place or like a dull place. Like it's, even like playing the piano, it's like that space for me is typically a ventral space where I feel like it's regulating and I open up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just to remind listeners that the nervous system, if it's something that you want to Google the autonomic ladder, but there are 3 states that your body can be in based on how safe you feel in any given moment. It can be your shutdown state, the most self-protective, most uncomfortable state to be in, of shutdown, apathy, depression. And then when you begin to move towards safety, then you would go up into your sympathetic state. That's the first place that you go when you start to feel triggered. Sympathetic is fight or flight, anywhere from annoyed or nervous all the way down to terror or rage. And then you go into your ventral state when you feel deeply, you embody safety in the moment. And your ventral state is where creativity comes from. Creativity is the fruit of a body that feels safe. And creatives need, I think, a different kind of emotional support than, or those who identify as artists need a different kind of emotional support, especially regarding their art, because we're creating something to be more visible. And if you have unresolved trauma, or you have pain and fear around being seen, being attuned to, being attached to, then we're basically doing the opposite of what your nervous system wants for you, which is to stay small and to stay disconnected. And so that can be a different way to look at the support that we get. Like, oh, we actually need a lot of safety around creating the things we need to teach our body that it's safe to be seen as we create. For you, it sounds like you're like you have a job, you have a lot of identity in a lot of other places. So music actually does get to be a really safe place for you because the stakes are relatively low. So for you, it's not like, if I don't make money off of this, or if I don't get a ton of followers, or if I don't get famous from this, like the stakes are really low. And because of that, that's just art that you get to offer, like almost in service to the world. And that's what keeps your body feeling safe as you create it. And like you said too, it can also be regulating to create as well. Like you can actually move into safety once you begin to create, if you're like sort of wound up from your day job and you just sit at the piano and can kind of feel more regulated as you go.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you too about your piano playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
What do you want to learn? How to play C chord?
Yeah. Could you tell me right now how to play the C chord?
Yeah, it's F sharp, G sharp, and D flat.
It's definitely wrong. I actually wanted to, I had this experience recently where I was creating this song with Luke Randolph, our good friend. Yeah. And we had somebody play a guitar part for it.
Yeah.
And when that recording came back, I was like, what's wrong with this? Like, is it the wrong, like, it sounds right. I can't put my finger on what's wrong with this, but it's like not right. And Luke turned around and he was like, oh, there's no emotion in it. He's like, that's why. He's like, we have to re-record it, maybe with someone else, because there's no emotion here. He's like, you can always tell when somebody's emoting through their instrument. And I was like, I don't know why I had never had that kind of like mind blown moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. I can't explain why I'm like deeply moved by some of like, I don't know, even like John Mayer's guitar parts, you know, or my favorite band is, some of my favorite bands, War on Drugs, like his electric guitar solos. I'm like, I'll tell James, like, I don't know what's happening to me, but something. Or
he's like, it's called love, Courtney.
Yeah. But that's what I hear in your music. That's what I hear in your piano playing. I'm like, why do I feel so much when I'm listening to your piano playing, because you do emote through the music. Maybe I should ask you, do you emote through the music?
Yeah.
Instead of telling you what you do.
Yeah, thanks for gaslighting my life, but second to that. No, I agree. Like it is embodying your emotional response to something and expression. Like I think it's the same. What Luke was talking about is true. So whether that's through dance and you have this thing and you're just following it and you're expressing yourself with your body, like I think that's beautiful. But likewise, I think you can do it instrumentally too. So you have people that I've remember literally one time watching someone guitar solo and they were like shedding a tear at the same time, and it seemed like whatever they were doing was so meaningful for them, and you could hear that it was important. And So it is a weird concept. I thought it was like, to be honest with you, I thought it wasn't real for a long time, but
yeah, totally. I was trying to figure out over the last like 2 or 3 days how to even like ask a question about it, but I don't know how to ask the question. I just know that it's something you do extraordinarily well, which is express emotion through just your piano playing. And I guess maybe I hadn't realized that I felt like instruments were in support of the vocalist, and you have a lot of songs that are just piano. Not that I didn't enjoy instrumental music, but that you could just feel such a connection to, I don't know, to the artist or to humanity and to God, to love, to whatever, just through somebody playing the piano with that much intention and like expressing that much emotion. Of course it would be the difference, now I see, of course it would be the difference between somebody who dances with totally flat affect, no facial, expression and like technically doing everything right, but no emotion. And somebody who's deeply like telling the story with their body. Yeah. It's just something you do really well.
Oh, thank you.
Well, Ben, thank you so much for sharing all of your thoughts around your music. I've probably said that I don't know, 10 times in this episode. Go listen to his music. I love his music. And I don't know anybody, certainly not personally, but not even publicly, out there that so connects art to the theme of healing lyrically and emotionally. And if anybody finds that they need supportive music in their healing journey, I think Ben's albums are just some of the best resources out there for that. So
thank you.
Beautiful. You're so welcome. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for having me. I honestly,
of course.
What fun.
I want to ask, where can people find you?
So Spotify, Ben Potter. Check out The Potters, check out Sarah Jessica, check out Courtney Lancaster, check out Noah Paul Harrison. These are all like co-artists. But if you go Ben Potter on Spotify, I think there's two of us. One of us is not me, and he has got some great country music, but you will discover with time that I can't sing like this. So go back a page, and then you'll see my head coming out of some water, and then that's the one.
Yes. Yep. Yes. That is the cover art for your newest album, which is beautiful cover art, by the way.
Yeah.
And then on Instagram, you are what?
Benjamin.george.potter.
Okay. And beautiful. Yeah. So if you guys are interested, yes. And like he said, his wife also has a gorgeous voice, and they collaborate so beautifully. And it is true that all of my streams mostly are from the songs that I did as of this recording. So far.
That will change.
Okay, so the question that I ask every guest that I have is, in your life currently, what is something that you are either healing or creating?
I find myself healing at the moment. You know that thing of the grass is greener over there? Trying to be more aware of like my current, even like I'm sitting in this room looking at this wall, or like I'm at the beach looking at the ocean and being still and present. And I've been practicing some meditation recently, which has been so effective. And it feels like a minute of meditation feels like half an hour of like relaxation. And I've been reading about that and like different practices of it, and finding what feels right and safe and beautiful for me in that whole space, obviously. But literally just coming into present and staying in the present, and trying to come out of that frantic, we've got so much to do in so little time, and into more of that where a minute feels like half an hour, like a minute of meditation can feel like, or a minute of being still or prayerfulness can feel like you've just had like a whole day spa and your toenails done. Like it just feels so good. I'd say that's the thing. And for me, that looks like going to the beach and being really still. And sometimes emotions come up and I just sit there and cry for a bit, or I laugh. That's been the other one that's been coming up. Like I'll sit there and just laugh. I must look so weird. Or prayerfulness, like maybe not necessarily like praying and speaking the whole time, but prayerfulness like a state of being. Like maybe you're asking something or reflecting on something or asking God to come into something, but not necessarily setting an agenda and like, I will get an answer in 22 minutes because that's all I've got before I go to my next meeting. Like more of that open space, trying to be super present and super safe and still in my current space. That feels like the big thing.
Yeah.
Being here and now today.
That's a good one. You're cultivating mindfulness.
Yeah. Well, that's a way shorter and more effective way of saying it.
On that note, we will say goodbye. Thank you so much for being here. You can check him out on Instagram, check him out on Spotify. His music is absolutely amazing. And Ben, thank you so much.
Oh, anytime. And Alexa, play Ben Potter.
Bye.
Bye.